Morning, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with Silver Lions Outfitters in the Pathfinder School, and I'm back down here today at the Pathfinder Outdoor Classroom, preparing for a Bushcraft 101 course that starts tomorrow. Of course, Zon thinks he's helping me out here, but he's really not. He's kind of getting in my way, but that's all right. He's the man, so it's okay. As I'm preparing for that class, I wanted to talk to you about a couple things. Number one, updates of things that are happening in the next month because I have a packed schedule. And then I wanted to shoot a video today for you real quick before I get started on this Bushcraft class tomorrow, because once that happens, there's going to be a lot of things happening within the next 7-8 days that I'm not going to be able to shoot anything except throwing up reels, quick vlogs, things like that I think you guys are really going to enjoy, because we're going to do some things that nobody else is doing in this genre for sure. But I want to give you some updates on that stuff. So over the next month, I've got this Bushcraft class. I'm leaving for a trip down south to do some really cool stuff that nobody else is doing. Coming back from that, I got a full packed intermediate class. The week after that, we have the Heritage Skills event, which is over here in Benton County at the fairgrounds. Huge event. Pathfinder School will be there in full, teaching all weekend. All you have to do is buy a ticket to the event. It's not that expensive, like 30 bucks, I think, something like that. And you can get all the classes you want for free, and there'll be lots of instructors teaching there besides the Pathfinder School. But the Pathfinder School will have a designated area we'll be teaching classes in all weekend for free. All you have to do is show up. The week after that, I have a youth camp here that's completely sold out. I'm going to have 40 youths out here and their parents doing a youth camp. I have 2 of those a year. One is in June, one is in July. And then the week after that, I have to leave for Italy to teach a sold-out intermediate class and come back. And then I have a class, I think it's a basic class, the week I come back from Italy. So we have lots and lots of things going on over the next month. And I just wanted to kind of clue you into that, because the videos may be more sporadic due to that issue, because of travel from here to there, because of classes and courses, because of things that we're doing like the Heritage Skills event. But we'll try to get some vlogs, some reels, some posts and things like that up, even on my community page here on YouTube, for you guys to kind of take a look at that stuff as we're doing it. And I will definitely get some videos up after the fact of this trip down south, because you guys are going to love what's coming out of that. Okay, so to today's video, real quick. What I want to do is I want to discuss what I would call realistic survival mentality. And we see lots of videos on YouTube, lots of posts on the internet about survival. And one of the things that I tell my guys at the basic level is that 90% of what people call survival situations is really nothing more than inconvenient camping, right? I didn't plan to be there, but I'm stuck for a day, maybe 2, maybe 3. But if I planned properly, I don't have to worry about that so much. And if my skill and knowledge is there, I'm in good shape. Now, when we're talking about survival mentality realistically, understand that we train with minimal gear so that we understand how to improvise the things in case we have to. But we should never plan to do that. So I think that we make a mistake sometimes, even myself, although I try to do more camping style videos, whether they're traditional, whether they're modern, whatever the case may be, because I really believe that most of the time when you are doing some type of outdoor activity, you should have what it takes to spend a comfortable night if you have to, because unless you have a traumatic injury of some sort, or it's a life and death scenario in the next 30 to 45 minutes, it's really nothing more than inconvenient camping, and you should be prepared for that. And all the books that you read, from Nesmith to Kephart, even books into the 60s and 70s, a book I'm reading right now from 1968, I believe it was printed, talks about the fact that you should never plan to sleep uncomfortable. You're not going to get any extra punches in your man card because you're out suffering. And we tend to show people that a lot, or at least try to fool people that a lot, and act like we're out camping with the minimal and we have nothing but a tarp and an accordion pad, and we're planning on having this fire in front of us if it's cold, and that's comfortable. It's not comfortable. There's no BS to that. It's uncomfortable. You should plan to sleep more comfortable. And then if you have to sleep uncomfortable, you should be able to do that. So you should practice with the minimum, but plan to take the maximum. But you also have to practice with the maximum so that you can enjoy the outdoors, because a good night's sleep is one of the most important things to enjoyment in the outdoors. So let's look at this list. I've got 10 kind of key things here I want you to think about that will kind of help you with this realistic survival mentality, all right? Number 1 is preparation prevents 90% of emergencies, okay? And that goes right back to what I was saying. If I'm prepared to camp if I have to, and I've got the proper gear for that, and we'll talk about the weights of those things in just a minute here, and the bulk. If I'm prepared to camp fairly comfortable, in an emergency, if I get lost, if I get stranded, if I run out of gas on my four-wheeler in the middle of nowhere on a logging road and I can't walk out tonight, I'm going to have to stay the night, then I should plan to sleep comfortable. If I'm prepared for that, that cuts down on that, oh crap moment. I don't have anything to spend the night out here and it's going to get cold. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to get my poncho and I'm going to get my fire starting devices and I'm going to hope I can stay warm, right? Plan for those things and then you're prepared, okay? Carry the minimum. Carrying the minimum is planning for survival. And that's really goes back to exactly what I'm talking about. If you are carrying the minimum all the time, then you're planning to rough it. You're planning to make a survival situation survival instead of inconvenient camping. And you really should be planning the other way around. You should be planning that if you get stuck, you can sleep comfortably. And that's important, okay? Weight versus rate. How much am I going to carry versus what's it going to do for me? And we'll talk about that down the list a little bit further here. But you have to kind of rate everything that you're carrying and what it's going to do for you. If you're carrying some type of a kit with you that you don't really need because you're not planning to camp, but you've got this kit on your back, you know, what is it going to do for you if the need arises? And really, shelter is a big part of that. And we'll talk about that in just a few minutes, okay? 2/3 of your pack weight should be shelter. So if my pack weighs 25 pounds, let's just say 24 for easy math, then 16 pounds of that should be what's going to give me a good night's sleep. Whether that is, you know, some type of large tarp, some type of mattress that's conducive in our value to the situation. It could be an accordion mat in the summertime, but in the fall and the winter, it's definitely not. You should have something you can sleep inside of, whether that is a sleeping bag or whether that is some kind of a woobie configuration like some type of a swagman roll, or whether that is a down quilt of some kind that packs very small and light, doesn't take up a lot of room in your kit, but can keep you very warm. So you should plan for 2/3 of that pack weight being your shelter system. That leaves you another 8 pounds in this scenario to put other peripheral gear. And if you're packing small items, 8 pounds is a lot of room to maneuver, okay? We'll talk about that in just a minute. Do not plan on a fire for warmth, okay? That is a mistake I see shown on YouTube videos all the time, okay? People that are acting like they're sleeping in a survival scenario or teaching people how to sleep in a survival scenario. Number one, they don't have the proper sleep gear. And number two, they always have to have a fire, okay? Planning to start a fire is a mistake. You should plan to not have a fire. And then if you can have one, it's a bonus, okay? Because fire may be something that's very difficult depending on the weather, the environment, the elevation, the geographic location. All of those things can be a hindrance on fire, and you should never plan to have that, okay? You should always be prepared to be able to make a fire, but you shouldn't plan your camping experience or plan your kit around, I'm gonna make fire to get a good night's sleep, okay? Base your kit on survival priorities accomplished, not improvised, okay? And we talk about our survival priorities in the Pathfinder School's mentality. It is self-aid, cover and clothing, fire, water, signaling and navigation. You should never have to improvise any of that in a survival scenario. You should have it on your body all the time, even if you're not planning to be there, okay? So you don't have to improvise it, you have it. And that goes back to something down the road here, a piece, all right? Train with the minimum, but pack the maximum. Figure out what your maximum is. We'll talk about that in a minute. And you need to train with that maximum as well to make sure that it's comfortable for you to carry. Make sure that you know how to use the gear and get outside, camp with it, right? I see guys constantly camping with the minimum, but camping with the maximum, number one, makes the experience a lot more enjoyable. And number two, if you never use that kit, you're not as familiar with it or know how to use it as you are with messing around with the minimum stuff. That's gonna do nothing but keep you miserable, okay? So practice with the maximum as well, but train with the minimum just in case, but carry and use the maximum as well, okay? It's a circular training event. You have to do both. Okay, pack weight should be 10% of your body weight, okay? And that goes back to You're going to carry this stuff all the time, so you've got to make sure it's comfortable to carry. And 10% is a pretty good round number for most people. I weigh about 210 to 220, fluctuates back and forth. So 21 to 24 pounds, dry weight, okay? Remember, dry weight. That's the weight of my kit with no water and no food. So if I'm going to add food and water to that, it's going to bump that weight up a little bit. So I'm going to stay toward that minimum of probably 21 pounds, knowing that if I add, a couple canteens of water and some food to that thing, it's going to bump it up around that, 22, 25, 26, 28 pound mark. And then I need to practice with that to make sure I'm comfortable carrying it, okay? Now, calories are easier burnt than replaced, okay? It's a very simple mentality to understand. It's easy to burn calories. You can build elaborate shelters for no reason, when you could have carried something much easier and put it up in much less time and burnt much fewer calories doing it. Calories are what's going to keep you warm. You worry about a fire, that's the mistake. Your body will keep you warm if you can trap body heat, but it's going to have to burn calories to do that. They're much easier burnt than they are replaced unless you're carrying a lot of food. So you should always be carrying something, some type of minimal food with you at least for at least 24 hours, whether that's snack bars and some kind of a just add water meal, some kind of an energy bar, anything like that is always good to throw in your pack to have so that you have at least one day of food that you can rely on, and then you can split that up if you need to for a couple days. Because again, it's easy to burn calories, collecting firewood, building elaborate shelters, messing around, searching for things. You want to avoid that because you don't want to burn calories that are unnecessary so that you can stay warm, you can get a good night's sleep, and you'll be good to go, okay? And then the last one is probably one of the most important in my mind, and it's hydration is one of the most underrated survival skills. And when I say that is from experience, okay? Here at the school, we train several hundred people every single year at the Pathfinder School in survival-related classes from basic to intermediate to advanced and all types of peripheral classes in between. And the biggest thing that gets people out here, no matter how much you tell them, no matter how much you provide them, and no matter how much you beat it into their head day in and day out, hydration takes out more people than anything else in these classes. They start to get a headache. They start to get nauseous. Then they start vomiting or dry heaving once they've gotten rid of everything they've got. And so now you've let yourself get dehydrated and you're out of the game, right? Hydration is huge. If you're going to eat food, you need that water to metabolize the protein anyway in your body. So having water in your system is always going to be a key element to your survival. That's why it's on the list of survival priorities, but it's the one thing I see people ignore more than anything else. Now, there's a couple things I want to reiterate on this video so that we're kind of on the same wavelength here, okay? First of all, I'm not saying that you shouldn't practice with minimal gear, because you should. What I am saying is that nobody's going to steal your pants, you're not going to be naked and afraid, and nobody's going to throw their pack off a cliff. So the chance of you losing your kit and being stuck with, what if you only have a knife? What if you get struck by lightning? Because it's about the same chance if you walk out prepared. When you talk about shelter systems, obviously the lighter weight it is, the more money it costs. So you kind of have to build that kit as you can. But I can tell you in the scenario we talked about, if I weigh 210, dividing that by 3 and 2/3 of that being 14 pounds, okay? I can put a down overquilt, down underquilt, Dyneema tarp, and a full-on Acadian Pro hammock system in my kit. And that's my shelter system, and it's gonna weigh under 4 pounds, not 14 pounds, right? So now I've knocked that pack weight down dramatically, but I'm carrying what it takes to be very comfortable no matter what the weather throws at me, okay? Now, if it becomes a longer term scenario, the durability of those materials comes into question. If I'm gonna use them day in and day out, the durability of those materials may come into question, okay? That's why I practice with traditional gear and do traditional things as well, because the gear's heavier duty, it's more bomb-proof. But in reality, realistic survival mentality, when I walk out into the woods, I'm gonna take whatever kit is gonna keep me comfortable for a couple days, because that's my emergency kit. It's no different than saying, I'm gonna walk out in the woods with only a poncho and an accordion pad, or I'm going to walk out in the woods with a space blanket and a couple other things and maybe, a few survival items in my tin, okay? That's ridiculous mentality in my mind when you can carry something so lightweight and so comfortable as a hammock, overquilt, underquilt, tarp for a fraction of the weight that you should be dedicating to your shelter system if the need arises, okay? So that's something I wanted to reiterate with you guys before we end this video. And then the last thing is about the calories, okay? What I want you to understand is that keeping warm burns calories. Calories are a non-expendable resource in a lot of ways when it comes to an emergency scenario because you may not have a lot of food to replace those calories. Yes, you should carry some food with you. How much is really dictated by your own weight. But again, if you've cut that shelter weight down dramatically, you can afford to add some food. If you're willing to carry that full 21 pounds of weight on your back, you can add more food. You can add more things because you've cut that shelter weight down. But understanding that those calories are really a non-expendable resource and you should only use them when you have to means I'm going to use them to keep me warm. I'm not going to use them to do other things that require trying to keep warm in colder environments than I should without the proper cover, because now I'm burning even more calories just trying to keep myself warm, or building an elaborate shelter I didn't need to build because now I'm burning even more calories. So when it comes to the reality of survival, I want to do the minimum work possible to get set up comfortably for a good night's sleep. And then I'm going to have plenty of calories to burn to keep my body warm. And I think that's an important thing that we fail to recognize in the survival community most of the time. Okay? So that gives you 10 quick kind of bullet points to look at, think about, possibly learn from, possibly put into your own mentality for your own kit that will help you understand the realities of survival mentality and how you should think about it possibly instead of maybe the way you see it represented all of the time. And again, here at the classes at the Pathfinder School, I tell people day in and day out, especially at the basic level, we're going to show you how to get by with a minimum amount of gear, but you should carry what's comfortable for you to carry, and you should always have a decent shelter system if you can carry it. There's no reason not to carry an 8x8 or 8x10 sill nylon tarp. It's not going to weigh much more than anything else that you would possibly carry for an emergency, and it's going to be much more versatile, much more coverage from wind and weather, and going to give you a lot better sleep at night, combined with something to sleep on and something to sleep inside of. Listen, guys, I appreciate your support. I appreciate your views. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for family, and for business. For all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. I'll be back with another video later. I hope this helped you out. Thanks, guys.